Hi everybody, this is Agnes from Sediment, and today we are going to put me to the test. I will be blind tasting wines across 4 different price categories: 10, 20, 50 and 100 euros. Can we really tell the difference between cheap and expensive wine, and where do exactly the lines become most blurry? There are many articles circulating in the World Wide Web with loud and clickbaity headlines claiming that wine professionals themselves can't really tell the difference between cheap and expensive wine. While there might be some truth to it, whenever I read these articles, I find many flaws. To begin, I will be amongst the first to argue that price does not necessarily correlate with quality, especially if we are tasting wines from across the world. In theory, a wine from a small, never-heard-before region, or from a grape variety that has been revived, could end up in the hands of a dedicated and passionate producer or winemaking team. They invest their time and energy, and it works. The wine turns out to be top example and of great quality. Economically, it would make sense to release such a wine at more approachable price tag, simply to reach a wider audience and to encourage wine lovers to actually be willing to buy it, experiment on their own and discover it for themselves. I have tasted many wines like this, from regions that are well known but not stylish enough at the moment, or from areas that are only just starting to make name for themselves in the wine world. They almost always offer great value. Think of Jerez, Alsace and Abruzzo, or great majority of wines from Chile, Argentina and South Africa. And then there are regions or producers that have reached certain fame and popularity that they can dictate much higher prices. Brand awareness and scarcity of the wine, or a combination of both, allows them to do that. So, if you do taste blind one of these obscure gems against a cult region or producer, there is a serious chance that the difference will not be that big between the two. Does that really mean that wine professionals can't tell the difference? No, it means that wines are similar in quality, just priced differently. Furthermore, it is important to note that price is not always a reflection of how expensive the wine was to produce. In many cases, price reflects scarcity or reputation of region or producer. For example, it is next to impossible to find a regional Burgundy below €15 mark, and yet some bottles do not meet the quality consumers might expect at that price point. The wine sells because it carries the name Burgundy, not necessarily because it delivers exceptional quality. Similarly, price can also be a marketing decision. A brand owner might want to position their wine at a certain level, and that is achieved through packaging, pricing, and distribution channels that signal prestige. However, positioning does not always correlate with quality. I have tasted some of those wines on my very YouTube channel, and I guess we all have. And while some might argue that certain wine professionals can't tell the difference between cheap and expensive wine, maybe the real issue isn't that we can't taste the difference, but that the difference doesn't always justify the price. There are also articles arguing that enjoyment is a subjective experience and not exactly science. And yes, that is very much true. What each of us enjoys varies significantly, be it food, clothing, or wine. But I would argue that majority of professionals, at least in certain settings, are trained to evaluate quality of wine, and that can be assessed scientifically. So instead of judging these wines based on purely how much I enjoy them, I will be evaluating them using certain criteria. You might have noticed me talking about fruit intensity both on the nose and the palate, about concentration or the lack of it, about how wine evolves in the glass, showing one set of aromas at first and later developing into something completely different. You might have noticed me talking about balance and harmony, about how well different elements integrate within wine, and lastly, about the aftertaste, how pleasant and long-lasting it is. All of these factors, at least in my opinion, contribute to wine's quality. So yes, I would want to argue that we can tell the difference. And if we can't say much about any of these factors, perhaps the wine is not of the highest quality. But we also have to acknowledge that setting of the wine tasting matters. I have been at plenty of jolly wine events where some of the best tasters I know have made crazy silly mistakes. But they were not judging the wine, they were enjoying the wine, enjoying the company and letting themselves to be a little silly. Let them. Wine requires a lot of attention to judge it properly. And wine professionals are human too. They might not be able to assess it accurately when they are asked to blind taste it casually. It is also worth acknowledging that, as in every industry, the expertise amongst professionals varies widely. Some individuals have deep training and long experience, while others may present themselves as experts without the same foundation. Yet many articles rarely clarify who these experts are or why their opinion should be treated as authoritative. So, after presenting all of these arguments, I still remain curious about how much truth there is to this claim. I am also open to the possibility that this little experiment could challenge my own beliefs. I always keep in mind one of the very first blind tasting experiments here on my YouTube channel. I presented all my arguments, and to my huge surprise, the blind tasting showed otherwise. And here I tasted wines and I chose, to my liking, the most expensive wine. Maybe I was wrong after all. Maybe price does reflect the quality. But today I will be blind tasting wines at 4 different price categories: 10, 20, 50 and 100 euros. These will not be random wines, but instead they all come from a single region, so at least they follow similar rules and expectations. Shall we? Okay, so we have here wines at 4 different price categories: 10, 20, 50 and 100. All of these wines come from southern Rhone. I don't know these wines. They were picked by my cameraman, so it will be very interesting to taste them and get to know them. So let's start with wine number 1. If we are in southern Rhone, I expect more or less Grenache dominance. Of course, we could have different grape varieties as well. There are increasingly more wines made from single grape variety, but I do expect not the deepest color from across these wines. We'll see. All right, so this one does show ruby color. It is not your inky wine as expected. And it is really bright fruit driven on the nose. We do have these cherries and strawberries and maybe, darker, riper plum character. But overall, it is very bright. It is quite lively. There's not a lot of savory to that. And you do feel that wine is coming from someplace warm and someplace sunny. You also feel some notes of toastiness, some of that, cedar box or tobacco leaf character. But it is very subtle. Let's taste the wine. Okay, I do think that this is quite lovely and youthful style of wine. The flavors that I had on the nose, they mirror on the palate. We have these, ripe cherries, maybe slightly dried cherry skin, present, and quite beautifully well-managed tannin texture. It is not your elevated, grippy and firm tannin. It just adds a bit of depth to the otherwise, really jolly fresh fruit character of this wine. Acidity is elevated, but it is part of the fruit. It is quite beautifully integrated within the wine. I did feel some of the warmth from the alcohol. I mean, it is early morning when we are filming this video and it is my first wine, so maybe my palate is relatively sensitive to it, so I might need to come back to this wine. I will move to wine number 2 to understand the whole picture, all right? All right, so wine number 2 is much deeper in color. It is still not inky, but and we still see through it, but it is definitely more intense, more concentrated color-wise. And on the nose, wine 2 is showing way more concentration and intensity flavor-wise. We do feel similar characters. We feel the same strawberries, raspberries, maybe something wild there as well, but they're just more tightly packed They're more intense, they're more present in the glass. There is, I don't want to say loudness to them, but there's definitely concentration there. And it also shows like an earthy layer to these fruit, like wet forest floor, you know, autumn leaf character. Let's taste the wine too. First thing that you feel is this fruit ripeness, that fruit sweetness that just hits your palate, and it fills the mid palate. And the aftertaste, I still feel it while talking to you. And it is not just tannin, it is not just acidity, although the acidity is elevated here and it lifts the fruit up, it is still present, but it is the sour cherry, it is the strawberry, the fresh, you know, bursting with fruit. So it does speak of higher quality with wine number 2. I will not be scoring these wines though, because this is not the aim of the video. I just need to put them in the categories of the price categories, so we will see. Let's move to wine number 3. Okay, so this one is also medium depth in color. It is slightly garnet though, and nose-wise, it is also slightly shyer than maybe wine number 2 was. Here I feel more resolved fruit character, like there are crushed cherries, there are, you know, slightly oxidized strawberries, maybe some blueberries and red plums as well. But all of those are just slightly, you know, open with the juices running out. Now I get some of that tar and black earth and like autumn leaf character. Dried herbs, maybe dried lavender as well, and lilac. There's something floral to it as well. I think it is quite inviting, at least for my preference, and I'm very excited to taste it. This seems almost lighter and more delicate than the wine number 2 was. Wine number 3 is like more elegant and elevated. It has beautiful acidity. It acts as a wave and the wine refreshes the palate, you know, lifts the fruit. It has tiniest, most delicate tannin, and it just more is a playful tannin rather than textural tannin. It just, you know, reminds you that it is a red wine rather than adding a frame to the wine. Wine number 3 is my type of wine. I really like it. I think there's delicacy to it. I mean, we are in southern Rhone, so I would expect at least one Chateauneuf-du-Pape in this setting. And but this wine, wine number 3, it has the elegance, it has the delicacy, you know, almost like of the Burgundy. It has like a Burgundy quality to it. And you know me, I don't like to compare wines with, you know, top winemaking regions like Burgundy or Bordeaux or Champagne. But this wine definitely has the delicacy and just, you know, the complexity of a great wine. So it is definitely of higher quality than wine number 1 and wine number 2. So let's move to wine number 4. Like, what intensity is this? It is just in your face. Like wine number 3 was this slightly shy, you know, hiding wine style. And wine number 4 is like, muscle, here I am. Like intensity, concentration, smoke, vanilla, toast. Wow. And it is not that deep in color. I mean, it tells you how color can be sometimes misleading when we are talking about the power and concentration of the wines. Oh my, like this is so bright, so generous, so intense and concentrated. We have strawberries, raspberries, all the fruit imaginable, you name it. We have like really concentrated, ripe, black cherries, blueberries, blackberries, like you are picking them in the forest at the end of September. Wow. Okay, so with wine number 4, This wine shows a lot of glossy fruit character on the nose. It is really rich. It has the most beautiful tannin, by the way. It is like well managed, chalky, finely grained, and it just sits there on your palate. It does slightly push away the glossy fruit that we felt so intensely on the nose. What is interesting about the wine 4 though, it is the one wine that I felt alcohol in. Like I felt the warmth really, you know, that sensation, and it stays. It is kind of part of the fruit, that's true. It is not overpowering, it is not bitter. Sometimes alcohol can become a bit bitter, especially if it is not well integrated within the wine. It is not the case here. It just adds a bit of oomph to the fruit, but I still feel it. Like in wine number 3, 2, and 1, I did not feel the alcohol so much. But the concentration, the intensity, the bigness of this wine just tells me that it is of premium quality. There is stylistic difference between wine number 3 and wine number 4. Like there's subtleness to the wine 3 and there's loudness to the wine 4. But I think they both stand in a premium category. Okay, now that we have tasted all the wines, can I just be completely honest with you? I don't think that any of these wines deserved the 10 euro price category. Not that deserved, like if there is really wine at the 10 euro price point, it is a great value. I can tell you this right away, because I think that all of these wines were really well made. They were really good and high quality, and I would be happy to enjoy any of these wines, truly. So we definitely do have one of the greatest values here hidden. But now let's just start with the price categories, the way I felt these wines were. So I do think that wine number 1 was of the lowest price point. Then I think it was wine number 2. Then I think the 50 euro price point would go to wine number 4. I am really putting myself out there. And then I think the most expensive was wine number 3. But I do think that the quality between 3 and 4 was high, like they both are top. But I don't know, I think the elegance and the lightness, I just thought that wine number 4 is of higher quality. Okay, so apparently we do not have the best frame now. I have covered myself with wines. So just quickly wrap it up. 10 euros according to Agnes, 20 euros according to Agnes, 50 and 100. Shall we reveal? So Raymond de Usseglio, Charles I, Lirac. Lirac is an appellation across the river of Chateauneuf. And how much is it? 20. Oh, goodies. So right away, I am wrong from the very beginning. So this was my 10-year-old wine, 10 euro wine. Let's move to wine number 2. Guigal, Côte du Rhone, 2022. It holds its ground quite well. I'm guessing this is 10-year-old, so this is the cheapest. That's quite good because I thought it was a bit higher in the price. I mean, I thought it was around 15 euros, and it says it is like a 15% alcohol for Côte du Rhone. I didn't feel it. I mean, it talks about how well the alcohol was integrated within the wine, like 15%. And the wine number 1 is also 15%. Okay, so they both actually showed quite well alcohol integration. Okay, so let's move to the next wines. Domaine de la Janasse 2022, Chateauneuf-du-Pape. And how much is this? 50, so I placed it in the correct, yay! Who is the winner? Agnes is the winner. So it is 15.5% alcohol, and I told you that this was the one where I really felt the alcohol. I mean, it was beautiful, it was powerful, it was big, it was everything you expect from Chateauneuf-du-Pape. And I guess we also have to talk about typicity, because you buy oranges and expect orange experience. And that is something that you can absolutely get with this wine, Domaine de la Janasse. If you buy Chateauneuf-du-Pape from them, you will have Chateauneuf-du-Pape experience, hands down. Let's move to the last one. One of my favorite producers in Chateauneuf-du-Pape, Claude Chateauneuf-du-Pape 2021 vintage. I don't have a back label here. It says 15% alcohol. It was magnificent. It was beautiful. It does deliver that Chateauneuf-du-Pape experience for sure, but I do think that it is stylistically different from what Chateauneuf-du-Pape can be. So I'm guessing that this is the €100 bottle. Yeah. All right. So we did make some mistakes here. So this is quite confusing to me. I would have really expected Lirac to be somewhere here, because, you know, we often talk about Lirac offering greater value, you know, value alternative to Chateauneuf-du-Pape. I mean, this just exceeded. I mean, if you can get this wine for €10, it is an absolute steal. It is great wine. You know, one of my greatest experience last year, I think it was last year, was La Moulin by Guigal. So it is absolutely top producer. And this is something what I say. Always look for the top producer. If they make great wine at the top level, they should be able to make great wine at the entry level, and this is exactly what I have done. And I guess somehow we do have an answer to the question if wine professionals can really tell the difference in price or in quality. And in this case, we really did have these two, standing out of the crowd. I think I did tell that these are like the premium quality. They did shine, they were more concentrated. Maybe like the wine number, this one, I think it was wine number 3. It was more, delicate and elegant, and there was this quiet beauty hidden in it. And that could be oftentimes misleading, because, when you have such a loud and expressive wine, it can overpower those more quiet beauty style wines. But these clearly showed to me why I might be paying extra, and I think these just offer great value. To be completely honest, when I talked about the blurry lines, I thought that more blurry lines will be here rather than here, or maybe here, between the 20 and 50 euro, or between the 50 and 100 euro category. But as it turns out, at least in this specific experiment, at least with my palate, my expertise, and my, tasting abilities, the lines were more blurred in this price category. Thank you very much for watching. Please let me know in the comment section below, what do you think of Guigal Côte du Rhone wine? I mean, it is wine that is available in almost every market, and I think majority of us who enjoy wine have tried this wine at least. Let me know also what you think about price versus quality, and if you have an extra time, make sure to watch this video next.